about 85% of the persons who would like to buy furniture, a house, or a car, or other things, material things, have to do so on credit. So they go to the bank, they apply for loans, credit cards, mortgages, the death pledge. They get granted this credit, and they go and they purchase their goods. And this has been a system that's been going on for a while now. Most of us who work and hold jobs, even though we're getting a salary, there's no way on the salary that we are receiving that we could afford the car, or the house, or the furniture without having access to something that's called credit. It's kind of funny, but if you look at it, most of us who work, most people, most human beings who are working as persons here in Canada, if it wasn't for this credit, they probably wouldn't even have a properly furnished home, meaning they wouldn't have a proper bed to sleep on, proper fridge and stove, proper Chesterfield, and so forth, because the price of material goods are outrageous nowadays compared to what a person gets paid for the wages that they earn. Now, more and more people get credit, and they get exhausted, meaning that they have too much credit. They're not available anymore to have any credit for them. They go to the bank, and the bank says, "I'm sorry, I can't give you a loan anymore, and I can't give you any more credit cards because you are maxed out. You have too much credit, you are paying too much per month." Now, this is happening all around our country. There's way too much credit that is going on here in Canada. Way too many families are under a heavy load of credit burdens, and they can't get any more credit. And when there's no more credit being issued or being granted, and people are not able to get credit, then the purchasing slows down or stops. And our economy, the way it's structured, the way they fixed this capitalistic system up here in Canada, our economy, it functions and has growth through purchasing. You have to purchase the goods. Companies have to create the goods, we have to import the goods, and you have to purchase the goods. Well, most of us who make salaries or wages, we can't afford to purchase these goods without our credit. But now, everyone's extended too high on their credit. They can't get any more credit to purchase the goods. So the economy is contracting. Now what happens here at this point is that eventually, through the contracting of the economy, you're going to have a collapse. Has to be. You have no other choice. If you can't issue credit in this debt-based system in order to produce purchasing power to buy the goods, then those who are manufacturing the goods will stop manufacturing the goods, for no one's purchasing them or buying them, and in turn the economy will collapse in on itself. Now, when they built this system here, my personal opinion, and everyone is entitled to their own personal opinion, but my personal opinion and understanding after having studied and looked really deeply into this is that they knew eventually that this would happen. They built this system, very evilly intelligent men built this system knowing that it would come to an end through a collapse. Because it would just be a matter of time, maybe it would take a few generations, but it would just be a matter of time before this would all transpire, and the outcome of that would be a collapse. So the banks don't issue credit anymore to the families, to individuals. Individuals can't purchase goods, families can't purchase goods, manufacturing slows down, the economy contracts, it continues on that same path, and it collapses. Now this is going to affect our food supply, our basic needs, our essentials, and everything. I want to talk about faith right now, but not faith like we're used to hearing it expressed in a religious way, but faith that has been placed in a debt-based system to meet your needs, such as food, clothing, water, and such. Most of us, we wake up in the morning and we have responsibilities. Go to work or take care of the family. One of the two. But when we have needs to be met, where am I going to get my clothing? Where will I get my food for the day or for the week or for the month, depending on how you shop? Your faith or your way to secure these needs are being met through the debt-based system. You rely on the stores, grocery stores, clothing stores, and the like to meet your needs every day. And most of us, we don't wake up in the morning and say, geez, I wonder if Provigo is still there, or did they close it down overnight? Or, geez, I wonder if IGA is still there, or did they shut it down overnight? We wake up and we automatically have an expression, a belief, or a trust inside of us that these stores which meet our needs will always be there for us. We don't question it. And these stores are there, and this system is what is sustaining our life presently. Because if you did wake up tomorrow, for example, and the economy had crashed, and the system had crashed, then how would you survive? How would you survive? Most of us, on an individual level, are useless, and we're unable to survive without the system, because we've never been taught. In school, growing up, we learned different education, different classes, different curriculum, but we were never taught how to sustain our own lives. We were never taught how did men survive, how did women, how did families survive before this system here in Canada that is presently sustaining our lives. How did they handle themselves? It is important and it is necessary for each one of us who understand what is coming down the road and who understand that there are bad times ahead, whether they believe this year or in the next couple of years, to begin to wake up to the fact what they have done to us. They, and I'm meaning those same ones who have rendered us subjects and servants, they have manipulated us through media, through Hollywood, whatever it may be, and presented to us an easy life. And it's great. I'm thankful that we have an easy life. I like hot water running in my taps. I like having a refrigerator. I like having electricity and the modern day appliances that go with it, and the toys such as a camera, which permits me to do YouTube videos. Nevertheless, they've made us or created a being, a person, okay, that has faith and believes in a system, a commercial system that is always there to meet its needs. And we never question it. Never question it. Again, if the system, or when the system does fall, most of us are not ready and do not have the knowledge or the understanding how to survive an economic collapse, a real economic collapse, where there is no transportation line, no food being transported back and forth, only local food, if any, no more grocery stores, no more clothing stores, no more hygienic products, and all these. What would we do? Long before there was ever a Walmart, long before there was ever a Provigo, IGA, a Maxi, whatever you want to say, men, families, women, they survived. We had knowledge, we had understanding how to survive. And all this understanding and knowledge that had been passed down from generation to generation, my great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, he knew a lot about the land. He knew a lot about the animals. He knew a lot about how to preserve his life, how to preserve food, how to make soap, for example. And he passed that knowledge down, and so forth, and so forth. Somehow, some way, within the past 120 years, this system removed all that knowledge from our families. So where we can go home today, and you could sit at supper with your family, and say, hey, mom and dad, or hey, my wife, or hey, my children, let's play a game. For example, we lost electricity for the next 5 years. An EMP pulse happened because of war. Or economic collapse happened and no one will work now to make the electricity grid work. We have no more electricity, we have no more refrigerator, we have no more stove. We cannot go to the grocery store to purchase food. What would we do? You see, all this wonderful knowledge that men beat out of the earth, if you will, through generations of experience, was removed from us. To where nowadays, if I went and spoke to you and said, okay, I'm going to remove soap from your life, just giving you an example, no more soap, no more shampoo, no more soap for the skin, no more soap at all, to wash dishes or anything. But if you can create your own soap, then that's fine, you can use it. Most of us don't even understand how to make soap. We think soap just comes from Walmart and that's it. We think everything that we have and everything that we need just automatically comes from Walmart or Provigo or Zellers or Sears, wherever it may be. The object of what I'm trying to say here is that we've been rendered useless on an individual level. That we couldn't even, as men, and I'm talking specifically more to men, but as men we couldn't even support our families and our loved ones because we wouldn't know what to do. Go down to the river, get a bucket of water, bring it home for the family to drink, cleanse it by Javel or iodine, boiling it, water purification. Where would we get sustenance to eat for our bellies? What's good, what's not good? How did they used to preserve food before they had a refrigerator? What did they do? All these things are important knowledge. In fact, it's a very important knowledge. And it's a shame and it's sad to see, because I talk to my friends. I'm of this generation, but I talk to my friends and to the younger ones and even to some of the older ones, and I see how we've lost that. It's been stripped away from us. But if you go to a second or a third world country, they know more about sustaining their life because they haven't been given all these material blessings, and that hasn't been really taken away from them. So they're more equipped to survive than we are here in this materialistic commercial society. I'm so thankful to have had a grandmother who lived to be 98 years old. She was born in 1897. So this woman, she passed through both world wars, she passed through the Depression, she passed through many other things besides that. But through all that, I saw a character, her character, her attributes, after having experienced all that in one life, and I saw the wisdom that flowed from her, and the things she used to speak about, and the things she used to say to me. And sure enough, here, it's 20 years down the road, I can just give you an example, and a lot of things that she said to me, I can see going on now in this world presently. And she always told me about the suffering that the people went through back in the Depression, and the suffering that the people went through, the human beings went through in the war, and how bad it was. And to hear these stories firsthand, to see pictures firsthand, and just to be having that emotion shared with you firsthand, it imparted a lot to me personally in my own life. It's nothing that I really expressed, but it shaped a part of me, a little part of my heart, because I live like a king. I'm not rich by any means, but if I need my clothes washed, I just throw them in the washing machine and they're washed for me. I put them in the dryer and they're dried for me. My only work then there is to hang them up on a hanger or stick them in my drawer, depending on where you place your clothes. If I need hot water, for example, I turn on a tap, and once I turn on that tap, hot water comes out from it. If I need light, well, I just turn on a light and a light appears for me. If I want to be entertained, well, I just turn on the television or turn on a internet computer and get on the internet and start surfing. If I need food, I can just go into the drawer and take out my food and cook it on the stove. I live like a king. If I go back 500-600 years ago, the kings, the way they lived, I live better than the kings live. I have more material things than the kings did. They may have had servants and subjects and people who worshipped them, but their life was a little bit more difficult than my life is today. I don't possess great material wealth. I live in a modest home, a modest modular home. And I spent the past decade, if you will, studying and learning the laws. Other people spent their life chasing after money. I've been spending my time looking and searching the laws. So apart from that though, I still live like a king, as I said, because I have all this. I can have food, I can have electricity, I can have running water, I can have my clothes to wash, I have a bed to sleep in. That's better than most people lived 600 years ago, even 400 years ago. My life is easy. It's easy compared to the way they used to live. But I can't sustain that life apart from the system. If the system goes, crashes, or falls apart, then my life would fall apart also. Unless somehow I've realized what has happened to me, and through realizing that I'm lacking understanding and knowledge concerning how to sustain my own life, I take the actions presently to put that into my arsenal, if you will, to equip myself with that understanding and that knowledge, so that when, because I am of the opinion when, not that if it happens, but when this does happen, I'll be able to support myself, support my life, support those around me. If you ask yourself an honest question and then answered it honestly, then you would have to say that, you know what, John, I agree with your video. Because if I was placed in a situation where money had no more value and I couldn't exchange my money for goods that I need, and if there were no goods for me to purchase, what would I do? And I don't know what to do. But turn the clock back 200 years ago, and my ancestors knew what to do. How did this knowledge get lost in my family? How was this knowledge removed from my family? If you look in the United States of America, go onto the internet and do a search and type in FEMA camps. Now, get away from all like information that's conspiracy or stuff that seems that it's just like one individual. Try and go, what I'm trying to say is try and go to something that's recognized, a government institution or something along that lines that you trust, okay, concerning FEMA camps. Now go and see how many FEMA camps, how many of these internment camps have been placed in America, and how much population that they're expecting to have to take care of in the near future. Now check the same thing here in Canada, and you'll see that here in Canada we don't have these type of camps going on. If you go back into the 1935s, 36, 37s, when the Depression happened, and you see the way Canada treated the human beings, the persons, the Canadian citizens that lived here, compared to the treatment that was going on in other countries. When, excuse my language, the SHIT hits the fan, you're going to be basically left alone here in Canada. It's not going to be something like that's going on or being anticipated in the United States of America, where there's going to be FEMA camps, and you know, some are saying, well, you're going to be thrown into those FEMA camps and controlled, and probably could be, but nevertheless there's going to be camps, there's going to be places where there's going to be food, warmth, and the like. Whether they're controlling you, and that's not the issue, but there's going to be places there. Here in Canada, there will not be. Now some will say, okay, then we're going to rely on the religious world. We're going to rely on the churches. Well, apart from the Mormons, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, most religious organizations, they're not even concerned with any of this. They have a belief, some of these organizations, that they're going to be raptured or taken away from any type of tribulation that's going to come on mankind, because that's what they believe, that's what they think the Bible teaches them, so they can escape this trouble. Some believe that, oh, they're still going to be here through the trouble, but like, you know, their God will take care of them, whatever. That's not the question. Those who are relying on the churches and saying that if trouble would ever come, for example, in 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now, exterior from the tribulation, exterior from the rapture, exterior from anything that's going to happen, I'm talking about something real, something realistic that would happen, an economic collapse, exterior from religious views. most of the churches right now are not in any position to help human beings, to feed them, to clothe them, to take care of them in any way, when that should have been their main priority. If they're supposed to be feeding, don't even want to get down that road. But just to state the fact that most churches are not in a position to help people. So we wouldn't have a government, we wouldn't have a structure that's in place to support human beings, and we wouldn't have a religious, if you will say, structure that would be there to support human beings. So basically, the 33 million Canadians, or a bit more, that are living here on this land would be left alone to defend for themselves. Imports would stop, so food that's being imported from 2,000 to 3,000 kilometers away, driven here or transported here on trucks and the like, would stop. And you, whatever you have, is what you would survive with. And your local farmers, if you can make connections with them. I realize, talking a lot tonight, and I could produce evidence as to why I believe all this is going to transpire and what's coming. I could make a video with a whole bunch of proof, whole bunch of articles, whole bunch of videos off the internet showing why, step by step, I believe this is going to transpire shortly. It's a lot of work though. I just figured I would share it, and those who are in the know, who have done their own study and research, when they listen to this video would say, you know, let me start to make some preparations. We all know, or most of us know, hopefully, that they think the world's overpopulated. A lot of people are saying, well, they're gonna take down the population by war, or they're gonna take down the population by doing such and such. They've already erected a system. They already have a system in operation. That is capitalism. That is what we're going through right now. This commercial system that is in place, that has created the ability to cause a whole bunch of loss of life. Simply by doing this, turning the off switch. That's simple. It's not such, I don't want to make it seem like it can't get more complicated than that, war and all this, but yes, it can be. But I'm just trying to show you that it's already in place right now, that if the off switch was to come, okay, the order comes, close it down, your money's worthless, goods are not flowing in anymore, everything's shut down. How much death and destruction would be around us? And the worst part is, it need not be. It doesn't have to be like that. We all had this knowledge. Each and every one of, we can sit down here on the chair, like I said before, and go back and say, my family knew how to sustain their lives. My great-great-great-grandfather knew how to preserve food. My great-great-grandmother knew how to preserve food, how to make food. She didn't need the grocery store to survive with the family. We lost all that. So we're now, if the off button comes, there's a lot of suffering and a lot of death. And their desires to cut the population of Earth would be fulfilled without ever having to really release a nuclear bomb. It may take a generation, it may take a few years, 5 years, 6 years, who knows? It may take less time than that.